At the time of this recording, I am traveling in the Philippines. I haven't stayed in one place for more than 2 nights. Some places only one night. And there have been a lot of challenges and a lot of things have gone wrong, and I kept thinking about making videos to help people so they don't repeat the same mistakes. But I keep defaulting to what's more important is raising your level of consciousness. And so I don't want to spend time on little things to help you avoid mistakes, and more time is precious to talk about raising your level of consciousness. As I said in a video yesterday, the thoughts that you have, the words that are appearing in your mind that are saying this is good, this is bad, I can't forget to bring my phone, or I should have done this with my credit cards, or how do I figure out how to get money working here, or what is this person's intentions for me, or where should I go? Those are seeming to be important, and they're seeming to be generated by you. I suggest that they are not that important, and they are a reflection of your level of consciousness. Yes, they have some importance. You don't want to leave your phone behind. I draw a comparison between modern travel with the conveniences of Airbnb and reading ratings, and if Airbnb doesn't give you the supplies you need, if you've got money, you can go get the supplies. My life here is chaotic, but it's so much easier than the majority of the people I'm seeing on the street. Not in the mall. People in the mall seem to have economic vitality, but on the walk to the mall, you see poverty. So, 1,000, 2,000 years ago in India, and even maybe today, there are people who wander about begging for food, and it's all in the name of a spiritual practice. Could this travel, with all of its aggravation and stress, desires and aversion, be a form of a spiritual trip, not to reach some holy site, but to look into this distinction between the thoughts that try to get what you desire and avoid what you don't want, and it's a reflection or a pointer to your level of consciousness. And so I want to read from the Tao Te Ching, a chapter I came upon today. I'm just going to skip ahead. It's chapter 42. All things have their backs to the female and stand facing the male. So I'm picturing a house, and this came to me in a dream before I read this. And you can go behind the house, driving a car, walking. And behind the house is unseen. Behind the house is your past. Behind the house is the bardo. Behind the house is the yin. The house's back is to the yin. It's coming forth from the yin. The front of the house is facing the world, facing people who are walking past it, facing cars that are going by it, facing houses that are facing it. That is that yang energy of whatever's in front of the house. But if you're aligned with the Tao, then you're aware of what's behind you. You're aware of what's in the back. You're aware of where you're coming from, which is the formlessness, the non-being. Non-being is beyond the category of being and non-being, right? Because if you say non-being is non-being, you're missing it. If you say the Tao is the Tao, if you name the Tao, you're not talking about the Tao anymore. So we're talking about something that's beyond categorization, beyond content. And so the thoughts that come that tell you, oh, I need to get this, I need to do this, I shouldn't have done that, what if this happens, where should I go? All of that is arising in front of the house. But you are attempting, if you're on a spiritual path, to align with what's behind the house. It's very challenging because it has no content. So you're facing the content, and as I talked about in an earlier video, with the inhale, you can have warm heart or cold heart. Let's say it's warm heart. So that's the acceptance. That is the acceptance of yourself, acceptance of others, acceptance of the situation, whatever you can manage. Or compassion for the lack of acceptance. Or pure compassion is that you're accepting it and your heart is open to it. Maybe your heart is breaking for it. And it could be for yourself when you can't sleep because there's noises in the city and there's no fan, as I've mentioned in earlier videos. It could be when you bought the wrong ticket and you got to buy a second ticket, as I did. That level of acceptance and compassion. And then the exhale, in this case, could be what I call the cool heart, and that can be just a thought. Just a thought, just a thought. And when you're traveling, it's harder because you're like, oh, but I need these thoughts to tell me, don't forget your phone, to tell other people, tell your credit card companies, all this kind of stuff that comes up, which seems very important. I'm not saying it has no importance, but it's so secondary to seeing the thoughts as reflective of your state of consciousness. How do you raise your state of consciousness? In my opinion, cool heart, or warm heart, cool heart. Either one, in either order. Inhale, exhale. So I talked about one order, let's do the other. Inhale, just a thought. So whatever's coming up, just a thought. Exhale, compassion and self-acceptance. Or you can do inhale, just a thought. Exhale, compassion. Inhale, just a thought. Exhale, acceptance or self-acceptance. So you can alternate like that. But the idea is to keep your mind focused on these very simple concepts. The two things, which is first, non-attachment. Because if you are so attached to something, then you're going to think that the thoughts are so important, and the keeping of the things that you desire and avoiding the things that you don't want are all that's important. Again, yes, you want to cross the street and look both ways. Yes, you don't want to forget your phone. But what's more important is finding acceptance, finding compassion, and finding non-attachment for that. I'm going to read the end of chapter 42 of the Tao Te Ching. Ordinary men hate solitude. So if you come to the Philippines or any country trying to find a wife, which I've seen many men here attempting to do, they are likely fearing solitude, which is totally natural, especially if in your childhood you didn't feel seen by your parents, your mother particularly if you're a man. You want a female who's going to see you. You want that yin aspect to receive you. Of course, in that effort, you're not necessarily likely to see it. You have your own inner yin. You can align with the Tao, and therefore you can or cannot be with a woman. It wouldn't matter because you're aligned with that yin feminine energy. This is a higher state of consciousness. It's not that easy. Again, how do you get there? Compassion and self-acceptance for all the thoughts that say, I can't get there. I need to find an actual female who is going to give me appreciation and love. And non-attachment. If I can't get that female, or if I had her and lost her, it's just a thought. It's just a thought. It's just a thought. It says, I need this, or this shouldn't have happened, or this should happen. So ordinary men hate solitude, but the master makes use of it. How do you make use of solitude? How do you make use of loneliness? How do you make use of the fact that you want to have that female companionship and you can't get it? Embracing his aloneness, realizing he is one with the whole universe. So this is very easy to say, realizing you're one with the whole universe, but how many people do you know who are awakened? There are many people online who claim to be awakened, but you listen to them and you know that they are still quite attached and they are not one with the universe. Because if you're one with the universe, you're not trying to get something. You're not trying to get attention. You're not trying to get money. So, but the opportunity of loneliness, the opportunity of aloneness is that you're going to more likely to turn toward that surrender, that oneness, that yin quality, that female at the back. If you have a desire to remove aloneness, and that's your total focus, if you have achieved the removal of aloneness and you're hoping not to lose the person, or you're wondering, gosh, is this person interesting enough? Then you're not looking to the Tao. So this is not a statement that you shouldn't try to meet a woman or try to find a wife. It's just saying that it can potentially come with a cost, which is that you are no longer motivated to turn to the Tao because you have the female in front of you. You're no longer motivated to find the yin inside and find the yin that is generating all things, the one that creates two, or the zero that creates one, rather. Because you're feeling your needs are met in some way. So it's a paradox, or it's a trade-off. And so the more you're striving to meet that woman, the more it is wise to remember, why am I doing this? And what is the opportunity of aloneness? Can I abstain? Or if I can't hold on to it, can I let it go? Because ultimately, while it's lovely to be in a couple and lovely to have a woman who loves you, and setting aside the risk that it's not going to work out because of age differences and cultural differences, is there a cost, a huge spiritual cost, to the pursuit of finding a significant other, finding a woman? If she comes into your life as a Taoist, you let her come. If she leaves, you let her go. That's the Taoist way. But this striving to find her, which I totally understand, is a level of consciousness which is not aligned with the Tao, because it is coming from the fear of aloneness. And so I'll read this chapter one more time and then we'll conclude. I'm just reading the second half of it. All things have their backs to the female and stand facing the male. When the male and female combine, all things achieve harmony. So when you hear that, you think, oh, well, I'll just find a woman and then I'll have harmony, which is true on some level if it's a good marriage. But all things have their back to the female. So not just you, not just women you meet, all objects, the chair, the table, the building you're in, your suitcase, which is hopefully packed, mine is, that all comes from the Bardo, from the yin. And so ordinary men hate solitude. So if you hate solitude, just accept you're an ordinary man, just a thought, compassion, acceptance of yourself for that. But then realize that the master makes use of the solitude. He embraces, or she embraces loneliness, I would say, and perhaps in that embrace realize oneness with the entire universe. Yes, the odds are low, but perhaps that is why we are here.